let's cover it. So the main there are about three principles to consider in terms of any interview. It's the same. It's very similar to the CV, right? Most
Mm-hmm.
importantly is what is your story, right? Because we're just that's just the nature of us. Everywhere in the world, we love a good story, right? This is what I shared. We're
Right.
talking about the CV, and now your interview is your chance to really become the main narrator of that story. And
Mm-hmm.
so everything you have to, so your job at this point in the preparation stage is to figure out the key components of your story and what you need to share with them. So even sort of the approach that I recommend taking and that we're going to go through in a lot of detail is you're so well prepared and you're so thought through in terms of your story for this particular job, team, or department and organization, ADB as a whole, that you can answer anything they throw at you. Right, because the one
Mm-hmm.
thing that so the even in terms of this and their organizations getting more that you can answer anything that they ask you, because there's only two things we know right now, right? That the only two questions we generally know in an interview of this kind, one is they're always going to ask you, so why do you want this job? Right. And
Yeah.
why are you the perfect candidate for it? And then always at the end, the last question is, so do you have any questions for us? Those are the only two questions we can predict with 100% accuracy. The other
Yeah.
one, we can judge, try to predict, but it's going to be you have to have an answer regardless, because that's one of the biggest, especially even if you're sort of regularly doing interviews, but if you haven't done them in a while, one of the challenges is oh my God, I didn't think about that, and now you get stuck like a deer in headlights, they say in the States. There's always a common phrase here, and you don't know what to do, and now you start panicking, and it's just a really fast downward spiral. And then you start
Right.
wondering, oh, that was a horrible interview. Even if it wasn't so bad, it's always worse in our minds than it is.
Yeah.
But that's sort of what you want to be block from happening, right? So you're so
Okay.
well prepared that no matter what they're asking you, you control the conversation. And this is sort of
Mm-hmm.
I've covered in a sense the second principle, but the third principle is uh is thinking about how to make this not a one-way interrogation of you, right? You is making it
Mm-hmm.
a conversation, especially with people. And this is the feel that I get from the TOR and what you're already telling me about them. They're looking at they're not looking at the traditional power dynamics, right? They're looking at how to break those down. How do you use new technology and so on throughout everything. And so the more that you shift the terms of conversation, not just sit there and wait for them to ask you and grill you, but be able to in fact sort of guide what they're saying and make them come to you in terms of fall into what you can lead them through the interview. And
Mm-hmm.
then the the most powerful tool you have is asking them questions. So you start making them think, right? And that immediately shifts the power dynamic. And what happens when you do that
Mm-hmm.
successfully is you sit there and you're just like, I'm part of this team already. You just watch them talk about things, and you're sort of thinking through, and you're having a conversation, right? Because you wouldn't be interviewed unless they really thought you could be part of the team already, right? They don't. So
Mm-hmm.
your preparation and your way of approaching and entering that conversation, the interview, has to be, I'm here. Let's talk about this stuff because I know what I'm talking about. Do you guys know what you're talking about, and how do we take this to another level? Because that's what we're here for, right?